So who's
speaking to that item number?
Well, you officially made the motion. Do you want me to? I don't know how this is working out.
Staying at 6 o'clock. There is, in my mind, if we have an agenda that is intense, we should go to 3 meetings a month. Or if we have a public hearing, we should do a second day. The public, this is their domain for democracy as much as it is council's. And, you know, who gets home through the traffic we got to get through today and get home and have dinner and try and be here by 5 o'clock? It's not worth it. It should be staying at 6 o'clock. That's my bit.
Anyone else want to speak to, okay, 11.2?
So I don't think we're debating this right now, are we?
Who was the seconder? You? No. Oh, who seconded that? Sorry.
No, but who's pulling?
Councillor,
No, but
did we?
Nobody's actually moved the motion to move it to 5. So if nobody moves that motion, it doesn't pass, and we don't move the meetings to 5.
Right, we can,
So
sorry,
nothing happens?
hold on though. We can move, we have a mover, and do we have a seconder for the consent agenda without the pulled item? We can vote on that, and then we go to discussion, right?
Madam Mayor,
Panik.
that process is completed, so now council has 11.2 sitting
Okay.
out there, but until council actually puts it on the floor, there's no discussion on it.
Well, 11.2 is to approve that amendment. So if that isn't going to be moved that way, then we have to address it.
Okay, all right, okay.
So that's where we're at.
Okay, so I will speak to that idea then, and I 100% disagree with Councillor Soprovich. I was actually just out in the hallway while I was recused from the Tantalus Gardens, and I was talking with the lady who had the small baby. And it's not just people who have 9-to-5 jobs who come here and who we want to hear from. I want to hear from youth who might have to go home and do homework, who might have to go to bed by 9 o'clock. I want to hear from seniors who are retired, who want to get out of here by 8 o'clock and go home to bed. And I want to hear from people who have little babies who have to take them home and put them in bed by 7 o'clock. Vancouver City Council starts their meetings at 9 in the morning, and they go all day. And they got lots of people who come out and speak to them, and if people can't come out and speak to them, they send emails. And God knows, people send a lot of emails to us already. So if we've got to do the business of the community, starting at 5, starting at 4, starting at 3, starting at 9 a.m., it's all fine with me. I think it's much worse to have people here at 10:30 at night who have been waiting for 4 hours than it is to start at 5 o'clock and have someone have to send us an email the day before instead.
So thank you for that. We kind of did this a little bit backwards, I know, but we can go back, explain the rationale, and so just so we have a bit more background for the 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock start. Basically, the work plans and council reports coming to council are such that the meeting lengths are very long. And so they would just extend. If we were to start at 6, they would extend until probably 11 o'clock at night. Ultimately, we will be taking the public hearings and moving those to the bigger public hearings to a non-council night. So generally Tuesday night, I think, is the one that worked best for most of council. And the only other thing I would say is that we have changed how we prepare our council reports. So in the past, when you had a meeting once a week, generally the Friday before the Monday is when council and the community got the reports. We now make sure that the reports are out 10 days ahead. I have a very lean staff in legislative services that would not be able to maintain council agenda production on a weekly basis. So that's the other rationale, is that to ensure that we have the resources to prepare the reports, get them to council and the community 10 days prior to the council meeting. And so far, that seems to be working very well. We get a lot of input from the community throughout the week after the reports are prepared. So I, in the best interest of the community, do not feel that going to a council meeting once a week would be beneficial. So start at 5 and end at 10, or we start at 6 and end at 11, I think, or we minimize the amount of speaking time.
Excuse me, I was not suggesting that you go to every Monday. I was just suggesting when you could anticipate a long one, have another Monday meeting. For example, in this month, there are 4 Mondays. I don't know how many. You're only having 16th. There's no meeting the rest of this month after next Monday. So rather than go to 5 on the 16th and the October 7th, you might want to have the third or the next Monday after the 16th to be a regular meeting, and then you wouldn't have to have those 3 at 5. So I wasn't suggesting necessarily go to every Monday, and I do really appreciate having the agendas out 10 days in advance. That's great, but I didn't want to suggest you do that.
We got, thank you, Carol Ann. I thought you had finished, actually, the first time we hear your message. Thank you.
Well, I thought it was misinterpreted, and that's why I'm explaining.
Okay, thank you. I think we got it. Thanks. All right, so council, we don't have a motion on the floor yet on this item. So if we don't, then it'll be our regular council time at 6 o'clock for those meetings.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, all right, so that's that, I guess. Thank you.
Reports from mayor and council until next week, only or 1 week for the next meeting. And if anybody's listening to reports from mayor and council at 10:41 in the evening.
Sorry, hold on. Councillor Thompson is signed up. Press the button.
Yes, forgotten what I'm going to say now. I guess I just wanted to speak to moving to 5 or 6. It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just want to go back there just because I appreciate the input from the public for sure. And I think it's one of these things where we're just not going to please everybody. I like the idea that we're talking about ways to improve the efficiencies of our meetings and our time, and moving public hearings is great. So I do think we need to do a few things to try and make a difference. My understanding is the moving to 5 o'clock was just for 3 meetings. Why was that? Just because those agendas are full?
And so, and also, council has UBCM, there's Thanksgiving in there, there's Remembrance Day. So, and given the objectives of council and the work plans that they're hoping to achieve, that's the intention.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we put ourselves in a situation where we have to take some extraordinary measures. And, I think the way the council meetings start off, it's a good hour of just delegations and business anyway, so the real meat of the meetings don't get started till 6 or 7. And I actually think it's worth a try to, see how it goes, see how it flows with people. And 3 meetings, we've got a lot.
Well, you can put the motion on.
Starting at 5.
Well, just starting at 5, like it says in
For those
11.2.
3 meetings.
You can put the motion on the floor.
I agree with you too.
Do I have to put a motion?
Yeah.
It's not already existing? Okay, well, I'll put
You got to make the motion.
okay, so I move that we start the next 3 meetings at 5
So the
8 p.m. or a.m.
as written.
Yes, that's what she's done. So are you going to second it?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So now we can have discussion on the motion on the floor. And did you want to make any more comments?
No.
Nora?
No, I made my comments.
Soprovich, Councillor Soprovich?
Well, I've been through 23 years of this, or 22 years, and we did meetings well past 12 o'clock. We did 4 meetings a month. There were work times. We have it so easy today of 2 meetings a month. We really do. And I just find it rather odd that you would This is a place for the public as well as this council. And they need to get here at a reasonable time. Like stated, a lot of work. The public that comes out here, they're not sitting at home and doing nothing. They're working. So come to this place at 6 o'clock, a reasonable time. And if we go a little later, I've said to Ms. Lemus that staff that are not involved should go home early. And only on a specific time, that if there's a report that they have to answer, as soon as they've done that, out the door. Because they have to stay the same length of time, and I disagree with that. So I'm all for 6 o'clock. I don't want to do any, look and see business. We know what things are all about.
Councillor Wong?
I have the most hilarious colleagues sometimes when I think about it.
Don't think about it.
Thank you, Mayor Booth. Certainly I hear the arguments on both sides, what Councillor Thompson is saying and some, what Councillor Soprovich is saying. I certainly fear that, moving it to 5 o'clock, if we were consistent always in having meetings that ended at 11, therefore we could almost guarantee that it would end at 10 if we moved it 1 hour earlier, I would certainly say, all for it. But, I certainly fear that it'll just, things will just dribble on and we'll be like, oh, you know what, we started earlier. We can probably stay till 11 because we used to do that anyways, that sort of thing. And I know how, things slide. And so certainly there's a fear of prolonging meetings unnecessarily. Certainly, I think it's really important for the public to be able to come to council after work. And so, when you're finishing work at 5 o'clock, you're rushing here, you're maybe not eating or you're eating here. And so I think there's a lot of logistical challenges when it comes to that democratic element. So certainly I would prefer going back or sticking with 6 o'clock just to give a bit more flexibility for the public in terms of attending council meetings.
Councillor Gambioli?
So I'll just remind those of us who were here in the spring that we started a meeting at 5 o'clock and finished at 12:45. So I guess you're planning to finish at 1:45 later this fall. I don't think that's a really good way to run our meetings for us or for the public.
Well, you want to talk again? Have you talked yet? Have you spoken yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'll just say, I'll say very briefly, I think that, I'm persuaded by Councillor Thompson. The first hour of the meeting's often not consequential. Let's try it for 3 meetings. And let's reevaluate at that point. If it's not working, it'll become apparent. If it's working better, we'll stick with it.
Call the question.
And I'll just add, I agree with that. For many years, meetings were at 7, and then we went to 6, and it was like, oh, this works really well. So I figure we should give it a try. We can take feedback, we can evaluate. So I'm happy to support a 5 p.m. start as well. And for the reason that Councillor Cameron said, that people can call the question.
Not that he says it.
All in favor of the motion to start at 5? For the next 3 meetings.
No, for those 3 meetings that
Yeah,
were specified.
yeah, 16, 7, those are the next 3. All in favor? We got 4, and opposed 2, 3. Okay, so it passes. Give it a try. All right,